Hello grade 4s and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to focus on language, more specifically how to use a mind map. Let's do this. So, what is a mind map? Mind maps help us, right? And how do they help us? They help us, or you, to find main points of the text. So it is almost like a summary. Why? Because what a mind map does is we read a story or a short story and then we break up those components into certain categories. Okay. So what are the steps for a mind map, right? We need to first read the text like I've just stated. Then we need to underline the main ideas of the text. We need to order the sentences and connect them together. Paraphrase them. Now, paraphrase, what this word means. It means basically to write something in your own words. Okay, so that's what we mean by paraphrasing, grade 4s, and we need to paraphrase the ideas in our own words. Okay, finally we need to proofread our summary and make any further changes. Okay, maybe sometimes you'll see in our mind map that we overanalyze one category in terms of what we're actually putting into our mind map, and we actually see, okay, maybe that is not necessary and we can take it out to make our summary more concise and more effective. Okay, so let's practice. So together we're going to read this little short text and then we're going to try and make a mind map. So let's read the text on starfish and complete the mind map that follows. So on most seashores you will find starfish. They belong to the family echinoderms, meaning spiny skinned. There are more than 6,000 species of starfish. Their bodies are arranged like rays coming out from a central point. When a starfish roams the seabed, any arm can take the lead due to the fact that there is no front or back to the creature. The starfish feeds on molluscs, such as mussels. It wraps itself around its victims and pulls open the two shells. It then moves its stomach over the contents of the shell and digests the mussel. If one of its arms is damaged by a rock or predator, it is able to grow a new one. In fact, one arm can regrow up to 4 times. Most starfish remain in deep water, or else they stay low in the water on the shoreline. If they are washed up and stranded on the beach, they seldom survive until the tide comes in again. Okay, so grade 4s, now that we've read our whole text, what we need to do, remember we need to follow our steps. So let's go back to our steps to tick it off. So remember, we have now read the text. Okay, so we can tick it. Now we need to underline the main ideas. So now let's take a pencil and let's underline, right? So most seashores you'll find a starfish. Okay, that's important. They belong to the family echinoderms, also quite important, right? There are more than 6,000 species of a starfish. That's pretty interesting. Their bodies are arranged like rays coming out of a central point. Okay, so basically, if you look at this picture, there's the central point there and rays coming out. Okay, when a starfish roams the seabed, any arm can take the lead due to the fact that there is no front or back to the creature, and the starfish feeds on mussels. Okay, so that's, we've got some food group there. It wraps itself around the victim. It then moves its stomach, right, over the contents. That's important. So remember, what are we doing now, grade 4s? We are underlining the most important, crucial facts of the text, right? What you find interesting. Okay, let's carry on. If one of the arms are damaged by a rock or a predator, it is able to grow a new one. Grade 4s, imagining being able, if you break your hand or hurt yourself, to be able to grow a new one or a new arm. Okay, that is pretty insane. So let's carry on. Most starfish remain in deep water, or else they stay low in the water on the water shoreline. And another one, if they're washed up, they won't survive for long until the tide comes in. What this means, grade 4s, for those of you that don't remember, you have high tide and low tide. High tide is when the sea is a lot rougher and the waves crash and they go further up onto the ocean. Okay, and that's maybe where they'll take the starfishes back in. Okay, so now we've got our mind map. So let's begin. So remember I told you to have some key aspects of a mind map. So for this mind map, we are focusing on eating, interesting information, movement, where are they found, and arms. So grade 4s, as you can see through our mind map, we've been given key features, key aspects, right, in terms of what to look for in the text. Okay, you won't necessarily always get this, especially when you need to do your own mind map. You'll have to come up with them. Okay, so let's look at our first one, eating. What could we say there, right? We could say feeds on mollusks. Okay, and what did they eat and what did the text tell us? They eat mussels. Well done. Okay, can you see by just reading the text, going through it, trying to underline the most important points, we can almost get what we need to in terms of our mind map. Okay, let's look at interesting information. Okay, can you remember how many species there were? Remember, if you can't remember, let's just go back to the text. We'll always have the text. And there you have it. Let me select a different color. There are 6,000 types of starfish. So let's go write that in. Okay, so remember, we're looking for interesting information and we are going to say 6,000 types, right, of starfish. Okay, what are the interesting information, right? I would say that their bodies. Okay, so remember, this is where they found. So, interesting information, 6,000 types, okay, of starfish. Okay. Then what else could we say? We could say that their bodies are, remember from the text we said that their bodies are basically come out of a central point and then they are arranged in terms of rays coming out of a central point. So bodies are arranged, right? Bodies are arranged like rays out of a central point. Okay, now that we've got our interesting information, let's look at our movement, right? We know that they can move in any direction, okay, which is pretty interesting. They have no front and they have no back, right? So no front / back. Okay, let's look at their arms. Remember we said that it's pretty cool that they are able to grow new arms, right? And if this is if, for example, the arm is damaged by a rock or a predator, and they can grow up to 4 times, right? So that is that they can grow arms up to 4 times. Remember, we're focusing on our main component there, which is arms. And let's go to one of our last components. Where are they found, right? So most seashores. Now you can't say all seashores because that is incorrect, grade 4s. Remember, it needs to come from the text that we've read, right? They live in 2 places, right? They'll either stay in deep waters or they will stay low. Let me just fix that. They will stay low in water on the sea or the shoreline. Okay. And that is just before you get, for example, the beach or rock surfaces. Now that we have our mind map, right, our next step would be to take this and put it into a paragraph. Now remember, a paragraph is 3 to 4 to 5 sentences, right? It is not, there's no bullets. It is basically almost your text. So the idea of summary writing is you're taking a much larger text and you are making it shorter, right? Easier to read in terms of obviously your reading, but also you're also taking the main facts. So your summary shouldn't be washed down, a washed down version of the actual text where you're missing important information? No. You should have the exact text just said in fewer words. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read another different summary, and we're going to make our summary without our mind map, right? So let's read together. Remember, we're going to read this text and we're going to complete the summary, right, with the missing words. So let's start. Reptiles and amphibians are cold-blooded. This means that their body temperature is not controlled like ours. They depend on their surroundings for warmth. Reptiles spend much of their time on land. Their skins are dry and scaly. Amphibians live in and around water. Their skins are smooth and wet. Some interesting facts about these creatures: whether an alligator will be a female or a male, right? Sorry, a male or a female, depends on temperature. The warmer the temperature, the more likely it's that male alligators might hatch from the eggs. If the weather is cooler, then a female is likely to hatch. The opposite occurs with crocodiles. So, like we've said here, if it is warmer, right, temperature, the more likely the male alligator, right? With crocodiles, it is the opposite, which means with female alligators crocodiles like to hatch in the summer or when it's hot. Okay, let's carry on. Geckos have large eyes, giving them excellent vision for hunting small, fast insects. They are unable to blink because their eyelids are immovable, which means their eyes don't blink like this. Okay, they don't have eyelids, so they can't blink. Okay, the web-foot gecko from the Namib desert gets the water it needs by licking dew off stones and licking its own eyes. Now that we've read our summary, let's look at how we're going to fill in now that we've read the text, let's see how we can do our summary. So here's our summary. You can see it's obviously a shorter text. It's much shorter than the one that we've read, and we have to fill in the words. So let's go sentence by sentence. And our trick, especially for this exercise, is we're going to take it sentence by sentence. So what does that mean? We read the first sentence without obviously filling in a word, and then we fill that word in. Okay, so let's start. Reptiles are known as space-blooded, right? There you have it. So if we go back to our text, right, reptiles and amphibians are known as cold-blooded. Well done, grade 4s. So what do we have to put there? We would put cold. Well done. So reptiles are known as cold-blooded. This, however, now remember we've done our first sentence. Let's move on to our next one. This, however, does not mean that their blood is cold. In fact, when they are active, their blood is, what is it? So remember, we've said that when they're active, we've said that they're cold-blooded. So yeah, in fact, when they are active, their blood is warmer, okay, than most mammals. It is when they are inactive that the temperature of their blood drops, okay? So this basically means that when, for example, your little lizard or gecko is just sitting, being lazy, maybe it's just fed, that's when their blood drops, and that's when they have to go into the sun. Okay. Unlike birds and mammals, reptiles use heat from their environment. Okay. Let's just squish that in there. So unlike birds and animals, reptiles use heat from the environment, right? They bask in the sunlight and they stand on warm rocks and sand to raise their body temperature. So can you see that, grade 4s? We've basically now just finished our summary. Can you see how the text that we started with about reptiles and amphibians was a lot longer than what our summary initially looks like? But we have the exact same content. Now remember, we did our mind map for our first summary. I want you to take that mind map and make it into a summary like the one that we've just done about amphibians and reptiles. You can go show your guardian, your parents, and you can do it. Thank you for joining me today for this lesson, grade 4s. I'm Marco, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.